Yo, what's up everybody? It is time for the review video of the Maxscape Speedrun Main Edition. And I'm saying Main Edition because in case you didn't see the final seconds of the finale that showed the teaser, I already started playing an Ultimate Ironman to have the same goal, to max as fast as possible. But originally I had a different plan in mind. I was gonna play my main while having a logout strat on the Ultimate Ironman and doing like some PVM on the main. And I did start that, but I just didn't fully enjoy it, so I decided to stop that. So for those who were aware of me doing that, mainly I talked about it on my stream. I am not gonna do the PVM stuff no longer, maybe like after the Ultimate Ironman if the new skill isn't out yet, but yeah, I'm just gonna focus on the Ultimate Ironman now because I'm way more enjoying that than PVMing. But anyway, enough talking, let's get into the review. So first I want to go over the whole routing of the run, as I had a pretty detailed step-by-step plan for this run, and also explain my thought process a little bit when writing the guide. As always, questing is the best start for any account in this game, even a speedrun. You need to quest so much more than you think to skill efficiently. And when I started making this sheet, I was like, maybe get 100 quest points and see if it works for Slayer, as I thought questing would lose me too much time. But I was very wrong about that. I needed to unlock certain areas or items to level up my stats efficiently. Stuff like Fossil Island for hunter, fishing, woodcutting and farming, Darkmare for agility, and areas to unlock Slayer monsters like Dagonauts in the Lighthouse, items like the Memoirs book for thieving, the Crystal Halberd for Slayer, and the list goes on. This run had to be planned in a very macro way to reduce wasted quest XP, and also to not overshoot quest points when it comes to Slayer blocks. Because this whole run kind of revolves around Slayer, that was the most unknown factor for this entire run, like how and what I'm gonna do for that skill exactly, how many blocks are optimal, which monsters do you or do you not want to unlock, which task list am I going to do, as logout methods allowed me to do certain tasks that were otherwise a block or a skip, before I knew how many quest points I had to get. But after looking at all the mandatory quest lines like the vampire and elf ones, and just the basic early game ones, I was already at like 170 quest points, so I was like, might as well get the 200, right, for the extra block, and grab Barrel Gloves on the way as well. And since Barrel Gloves means doing Dragon Slayer 1, I also was able to do the Karamya Elite Diary, as you needed to start Legends Quest for the hard tier, for a direct teleport to Duradel. So I cooked up a Slayer list with 4 blocks and I started to work on when I wanted to do which quest by looking at the wiki for the XP that the quest gave and how many quest points per time spent they gave. So after going through the list of quests for the quest points, the quest XP rewards to see how much XP the quest gave, and the XP table to see what level I was going to get from every single quest and if I had enough for the next series of quests, and doing that like 100 times for every single skill, then I came up with this whole sheet. So I think this is probably the most macro way to like plan the quests for early game up till like 200 quest points. So in short, all I did was setting up a quest point target for Slayer blocks, and just looking at what rewards which quest gave, and calculate the XP backwards with the use of the XP table page. And since this is a main account, I could just buy everything if I needed quest items and had to train a skill to meet quest requirements. And the same thing is actually a nightmare currently on the Ultimate Ironman, because I also have to plan out when to get certain items and when to train skills while having a limited inventory space, but more on that in like a week. Alright, this next part of the video is just going to be a ramble type Q&A, so let's get into the first question. Ethereal Neo asks, for the Q&A, after the series is concluded, what type of content do you want to make next? Well, I already touched upon this at the start of the video, but it will be Ultimate Ironman speedrun, since I've always had a sweet spot for Ultimate Ironman, but just never had the time like to play it because I was always busy with getting 200 mils on my main. And on the side I also want to make guides for all the skills still. That is still something I want to do, but yeah, I didn't have had any time for it, but it will happen this year before the new skill comes out, and then of course, make a guide for the new skill as well. But yeah, plenty in store for like the upcoming like year, because the new skill will probably be like late 2024 is my guess. Especially now that sailing is locked in, and sailing is definitely more work than shamanism, I think. But yeah, next one. Arionizor asks, what will happen to Funk Addict after finishing the run? Well, the run has been finished, and Funk Addict has not logged in ever since. And I'm gonna keep it that way until the new skill comes out, I think, because it is just way cooler to have the playtime as low as possible still when a new skill comes out. And I will probably get 99 in the new skill, as long as the skill isn't like too involved with other skills. Like if I can just do that skill to 99 without like losing too much time on other skills, I will do it. But I'm gonna do 200 mil need a new skill on my main first though. And next question from Bas. How would you feel about speedrunning specific account builds? For example, a max 60 attack peer would prohibit you from using most combat methods from this series. Doesn't have to be a PK account per se, but just seeing some restrictions and new methods could make it interesting content, and maybe help others with their accounts. Speedrun to skills to 50, speedrun to Questscape, speedrun max combat or specific alts. That is pretty cool. I will probably do something like this, but yeah, the Ultimate Ironman is gonna take a while, so maybe I can fit in some like one-off video that touches upon this, but I don't really have any ideas right now for this, but it is definitely a good question. Thank you, Bas. However, I don't think I can take more quests, so Questscape is probably not on the menu for that. And now, this is an interesting question that I don't really know the answer like myself on right now, but Storm asks, what discovery that didn't come for you ended up being the biggest time save? Well, actually, there weren't any methods that I learned about after I started to run, because I pretty much, like, I'm going all over all the skills now, but I pretty much think I had all the methods planned that I did for the speedrun. But of course I didn't invent all those methods myself. Like the Zebek ranged is something I didn't came up with, but yeah. But no, there wasn't some... There is something else, but I will touch upon that later with another question. But no. I did learn like from people though. Certain, like how I could do certain methods better. Like Zunkra really helped me out with runecrafting, because I was kind of new to that and I made a lot of mistakes my first hour, and he gave me a lot of feedback. So yeah, he gave me some tips to improve my rates there. But other than that, not really. Mr. Denders asks, what would the speedrun look like if you didn't use logout methods? Specifically for melees and Slayer, how would the meta change? Well, the meta would probably change in just me hiring a bunch of spec transfers and just like not do a logout, but just like perma spec with the Bulwark and the Crystal Halberd. But I don't think I would finish the melees with Slayer that way. It's unlikely that I would finish them like attack, strength and defense before hitting 99 Slayer. So I would probably do like Dragon Claws at Zebek for finishing like defense or something, or whatever attack. It would be a lot more fun though, but I don't think it's gonna be like that different. Basically just like me hiring a lot of runners for the spec. Alright, now the question that most people have been asking for. Vanilla Slice is asking, how much GP roughly did it cost you? Well, I made a little like info graph for this, or like all when you could see all the skills, and I put the numbers on it with how much GP I spent. And you can look at it, but I would say most of them aren't that spectacular, and of course the majority comes from crafting and rune crafting with the crystal and like runners for rune crafting. But other than that, Prayer was the most expensive skill that I was kind of doing normal. I did hire a runner for it, but it's just like super expensive in the POH. So that was like close to 300 mil. And the only skills we profited with were Slayer, because I got an imbued heart. And I probably, well, I made like 1 mil from artifacts, but I counted the multi-skilling like with their own skill, like Firemaking and Herblore were calculated as their own, and thieving in itself actually made me like 1 mil, but other than that, everything was pretty much a loss, except for Slayer, because we got lucky. And in total, it costed over 7 bill, and if you exclude runecrafting and crafting, it was only like 1.3 bill for all the other skills. But, of course, those two did save me the most amount of time. Joseph Wang asks, how did your motivation levels change during the speedrun? Like from start, middle to finish? For example, I'm imagining it might have been harder during Slayer. Well, you're correct. It was pretty annoying and sometimes not so fun during Slayer. But other than that, my motivation was pretty high for the most part. Only towards the end, I had to wait on JCW so we could finish at the same time. That was kind of like boring. I had to like stop playing for a week. But yeah, other than that, my motivation during Slayer wasn't like low, but I don't know. I just pushed through it, and sometimes it was fun, but other times it wasn't as fun. When I got like a lot of necreals while streaming, that wasn't fun. Dopey33 asks, what was the most frustrating / inconsistent part of your grind? Things like the weird pathing at that mining spot, or the weird issue where you couldn't tick manipulate your fire while running? Well, that driftnet thing was like very weird, but I probably solved that in, I don't know, like 15 minutes maybe, that I like lost time. I did like 15 minutes of like bad fire making, and then I just logged out and figured it out. But the most frustrating was probably Slayer, if you got like bad RNG with tasks. And most inconsistent? Everything was pretty consistent. It was kind of annoying though when people would crash you at Sepulcher. Like people pre-start your floors. That was also a little bit frustrating. Alright, moving on. Silver DK is asking, what skilling method would you have liked to do that was just not feasible in terms of GP per XP? I think that has to be not demonic drones, because, I don't know, it looks kind of lame. And yeah, it is pretty expensive though. Drones are like 1k GP per XP, which is like a little bit too much to only save like 5 hours or something. But the Cerberus crystals for the boots would be pretty cool to do for rune crafting. But it would probably cost you like, I don't even know like how much GP you would have to spend to bank all the boots, especially if you do like all 3 boots and not just Eternals. But it's crazy how much GP you need to bank that. It would probably be like a couple trill at least. And Andy Gonzalez is asking, other than in-game preparations, what IRL preparations did you take prior to this run? Not really that much preparation, because I knew I wasn't gonna play insane amount of hours per day, as it was gonna be a speedrun in like in-game time, not IRL time. But of course I like to stay active and healthy, so I still go to the gym. While I did this run, I probably went like 4 or 5 times a week to the gym during the whole span of this run. Yeah, just to make sure I am healthy and in the right mindset. And some more IRL questions. Leonardo Gorlami is asking, how has this no-lifing affected your real life in any way? Well, it kinda hasn't, because I only... Well, of course I spent more time at the PC because I wasn't always logged in and I had to edit as well. But I was only logged in for like 4 hours a day on this speedrun account. Less than 4 hours even. And then probably like a couple hours of editing, like average per day, and just like sitting at the PC and planning my stuff out that I had to do for questing and such. So yeah, I definitely like spent less hours per day than someone would on a normal like job. per week, so yeah, it didn't really affect my real life that much. Except for that I managed to grow my YouTube channel to a reasonable income, so that is a positive effect that it had on my life. And this wasn't a question, but I wanted to add this as well, because I didn't have time, I don't think I put it in the video actually, but how long Slayer actually took me. I don't think it was in there, but... And there was also not a question on the video that I put out, but I checked my playtime before I started Slayer, and I checked it after. And it only took me like 120 hours to finish like all of Slayer. Like early game it was a bit slower, and like later on it was faster, but it took me like around 120 hours in game. But it probably took me like 400 hours out of the game. So yeah, the ratio was not great. I probably averaged an XP rate of like 40k like an hour IRL time. So the logout Slayer is definitely not worth it if you're going for 99 Slayer as fast as possible. Unless you're doing a speedrun like mine. Well, there's actually something that is... like a different method that was actually pretty cool, but I didn't do it because I had a better method. But that was for crafting. Of course, I wasn't sure at first if I was gonna do the crystal crafting and such. So my original plan, that was someone else's idea, which I didn't think of, was to get a gem bag from Motherlode Mine and then fill that with rubies or diamonds, because dragonstones would be a little bit expensive, and then take that into Sepulcher and have a full inventory of gems already and full gem bag, and then just like cut the gems, drop them, empty your gem bag and repeat. And that would probably get you like close to 99 crafting from just agility. But of course the crystal crafting was just much better, and then that allowed us to do bake pie during agility. But it was a really cool idea, and I kind of wanted to do it, but yeah, it was just like much better to do crystal. Now the last two questions. Bond is asking, do you think you can do it faster looking back on the grind? I can definitely do it faster. I don't think the route per se has to change. Well, a little bit with the questing, because they updated the quest XPs in the middle of the run, but I think my route is pretty much perfect if you adjust those quests for the XP. And then it's just like a matter of like running it back and just doing it better. But I think, well, I finished it in 771 hours, but I think it's definitely possible to get sub 750. Like you can easily get another 20 hours like saved of the run. I don't think that's like too crazy. Especially during streaming, I definitely made some mistakes and lost some time sometimes. And that adds up over a 700-hour run. But the thing is, you can't really practice this. So yeah, it's kind of hard to like improve your run. And that ties in with the next question from Kid R Cool. If someone beats your time, will you run it again? No. It's too big of a time investment and GP investment to run this back. And I don't think anyone is gonna beat this run before the new skill gets added, and then like the time to max goes up, so it's probably never gonna get beaten, or it's like a legacy record, because then the new record would be like including the new skill. But yeah, I'm definitely not running it back, and even if JCW had beaten me, I would probably also not have run it back, because yeah, I already did it, and yeah, that doesn't really make for interesting content again if I just do the same stuff but then slightly quicker. But yeah, luckily we won and we don't have to run it back, and we are the record holder of the fastest Maxscape speedrun. Alright, that was it. There were a handful of duplicate questions in here, so I hope I didn't miss any questions in the replies from the announcement video. But I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, if you have any further questions, I can answer them down in the comment section, so please write some questions if you still have some that I didn't talk about in this video. But I think I covered pretty much most of it. Keep an eye out for the Ultimate Ironman that is probably gonna be on YouTube in like the next 10 days, I hope. I already like played quite a bit on the Ultimate Iron Man, but I haven't started working on a video yet. But it will be out soon, so don't worry. Alright guys, see you later and have a good day.